I never thought the day I almost died would be the day I finally started living. If you're watching this right now, I need you to stay with me until the very last word, because what I'm about to tell you isn't just my story. It's the story of every person who's ever felt like the world was quietly trying to erase them. And if this hits you even a little bit, do me a favor, hit that like button and subscribe. It costs you nothing, but it tells the algorithm that stories like this matter. Now, let's go back to the night everything changed. It was raining, the kind of rain that feels personal, cold, heavy, relentless. I was driving home from a late shift at the hospital, the same route I'd taken 1,000 times. My headlights cut through the water, the wipers fought a losing battle, and the only sound in the car was the soft hum of the radio and my own tired breathing. I remember thinking, for no reason at all, I'm so tired of pretending I'm okay. Then the headlights behind me appeared. Not normal headlights. High beams, too close, too aggressive. I slowed down, hoping they'd pass. They didn't. They matched my speed. When I sped up, they sped up. When I turned onto the quieter road that led to my apartment complex, they followed. My heart started hammering so hard I could feel it in my throat. I told myself I was being paranoid. People drive aggressively in the rain all the time. Until the car behind me suddenly accelerated and slammed into my rear bumper. The impact threw me forward. My seatbelt locked. The steering wheel jerked. I fought to keep the car on the road as the other vehicle hit me again, harder this time. My car spun. The world became a blur of rain, headlights, and the sickening screech of tires. I hit the guardrail. Metal screamed. Glass exploded. And then everything went black. When I opened my eyes, I was hanging upside down, blood dripping into my hair, the taste of metal in my mouth. The airbag had deployed. Smoke was rising from the engine. Outside, through the shattered window, I saw the other car's taillights disappearing into the rain. No one stopped. No one called for help. Just silence and the sound of rain hitting the undercarriage of my flipped car. I should have died that night. The doctors later told me that if the angle of the impact had been even a few degrees different, or if I'd been going a little faster, I wouldn't have made it. But I did. Broken ribs, a concussion, a deep cut across my forehead that would leave a scar, and a left arm that needed surgery. They called it a hit and run. An accident. Bad luck on a bad night. But I knew. Deep in my bones, I knew it wasn't an accident. Someone had wanted me gone. I spent 3 days in the hospital, and the whole time one question kept looping in my mind. Who? And why? I wasn't rich. I didn't have enemies. At least, none I knew of. I was just a 32-year-old nurse who worked too many shifts, came home to an empty apartment, and sometimes cried in the shower so no one would hear. My life was quiet, ordinary, forgettable, so why would anyone try to end it? The police treated it like any other hit and run. They took a report, checked for cameras, there were none on that stretch of road, and told me they'd look into it. I could see in their eyes that they already filed it under unsolved and unlikely to be solved. Insurance would cover the car. My body would heal. Life would move on. But I couldn't move on. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw those high beams. Every time I heard a car accelerate behind me, my hands shook. I started checking the locks on my apartment 3 times before bed. I stopped answering calls from numbers I didn't recognize. And the worst part wasn't the fear, it was the loneliness that came with it. Because when you tell people, someone tried to kill me, they look at you with this mix of pity and discomfort, like you've become a walking reminder that the world can turn cruel without warning. 2 weeks after the crash, still moving carefully because of the ribs, I went back to work. The hospital felt the same. Beeping monitors, the smell of antiseptic, the quiet exhaustion of people who spend their lives holding other people's pain. My coworkers hugged me carefully, asked how I was doing, and then the shift swallowed us all again. I thought maybe if I just kept working, the terror would fade. It didn't. That same week, I found the first envelope. It was in my hospital locker. No stamp, no return address, just my name written in careful block letters. Inside was a single photograph, taken from outside my apartment window at night. The lights were on. I was sitting on the couch, head in my hands. On the back of the photo, 4 words written in the same block handwriting. You should have stayed down. My hands started shaking so hard the photo nearly slipped from my fingers. I looked around the locker room. Empty. I checked the hallway. No one. I went straight to security. They reviewed the cameras. Nothing unusual. No one lingering near the staff area. The envelope could have been slipped in any time during the day when the lockers were open and people were coming and going. That night I didn't sleep. I sat with my back against the wall, lights on, phone in my hand, staring at the door. Every creak of the building made my heart jump. I thought about calling the police again. What would I even say? Someone left a photo of me crying in my own home. They would file another report. Another shrug. Another, "We'll look into it." So I started looking myself. I pulled every memory from the months before the crash. Every conversation. Every argument. Every patient who might have been angry. Every coworker who might have held a quiet grudge. Nothing stood out. Then I remembered something small. Something I'd almost forgotten. 3 months earlier, I had reported a doctor. His name was Dr. Marcus Hale. Charismatic, respected, the kind of man nurses were told not to question. I'd seen him alter medication dosages on a patient's chart after a family complained about pain management. When I brought it up privately, he smiled and told me I was overthinking it. When the patient later coded and nearly died from the wrong combination of drugs, I filed a formal incident report. The hospital investigated. Dr. Hale was placed on temporary leave, then quietly reinstated after the family accepted a settlement and signed an NDA. Most people in the hospital acted like it never happened. A few looked at me differently after that, like I'd broken an unspoken rule. I had almost convinced myself it was behind us. Until the second envelope arrived. This one came to my apartment. Same block handwriting. Inside was a photocopy of the incident report I had filed, my signature circled in red. And beneath it, one sentence. "Snitches don't get second chances." That was the moment the fear turned into something sharper. Rage. Clarity. Someone wasn't just trying to scare me. Someone was sending a message that my silence had been expected, and my courage had a price. I took everything to the police again. The photo. The note. The incident report. This time a detective actually listened. She was older, tired looking, the kind of woman who had seen too many cases go cold. She promised to dig. She asked for names. I gave her drive. Hales. She nodded and said she'd run it down. 2 days later, my car, the rental I was driving while waiting for insurance, had its brake lines cut. I discovered it only because the car felt soft when I first pressed the pedal in the hospital parking garage. I stopped immediately, called the detective. The mechanic confirmed it. Deliberate. Clean cut. Professional. Someone really wanted me gone. I stopped going home alone. A coworker named Lena. Quiet, steady, the kind of person who always noticed when someone was struggling, offered me her guest room. I almost said no out of pride. Then I thought about the photo taken through my window and said yes. Lena didn't ask a lot of questions at first. She just made tea, left the hallway light on, and sat with me in silence when the panic attacks came. One night, after I finally broke down and told her everything, the crash, the notes, the doctor, the brakes, she looked at me and said something I'll never forget. "You didn't do anything wrong by telling the truth. The people who punish honesty are the ones who are afraid of it." Those words stayed with me. The detective called a week later. She had news. Dr. Hale had an alibi for the night of the crash. He was at a medical conference 3 states away, confirmed by hotel records and colleagues. But his brother, a man with a history of violent offenses and a long list of sealed juvenile records, had been seen near the hospital the day the first envelope appeared. The brother's car matched the description of the vehicle that had run me off the road. And a partial fingerprint on the second envelope matched a print the brother had on file from an old assault case. They arrested him 2 days later. He didn't confess right away. But when they showed him the evidence, the car, the fingerprint, the security footage from a gas station near the crash site, he broke. He said his brother had told him I was a problem that needed handling. He said he was supposed to scare me permanently. He said he never meant for me to survive the first attempt. Dr. Marcus Hale was later suspended pending a full investigation. The hospital, facing the threat of lawsuits and media attention, finally did what it should have done months earlier. The truth came out in pieces. Other nurses who had seen things and stayed quiet, other patients who had suffered under altered charts. I wasn't the only one who had noticed. I was just the only one who had spoken up and paid the price for it. The trial was hard. Sitting in that courtroom, looking at the man who had tried to end my life because I refused to stay silent, I felt every emotion at once. Fear, anger, grief for the version of myself who used to believe the system would protect people like me. But I also felt something else growing under all of it, a strange, quiet strength. When the verdict came, guilty on multiple counts, I didn't feel the triumph I thought I would. I felt tired, and free. Healing didn't happen overnight. My body recovered faster than my mind. For months I still checked the rearview mirror more than I needed to. I still flinched at sudden headlights. Therapy helped. Lena's friendship helped more. And slowly, the nights got quieter. I went back to nursing with a different kind of courage. I still report what I see. I still speak up. But now I know the cost, and I choose it anyway, because the alternative is living in a world where silence is safer than truth, and I refuse to live in that world. If you're still here with me at the end of this story, thank you. Really, stories like this only matter if someone is willing to listen. And if any part of what I've shared made you feel less alone, if you've ever been punished for telling the truth, or made to feel small for standing up, or survived something that was supposed to break you, then I need you to know this. You were never the problem. The people who try to erase you are. And you are still here. So if this story meant something to you, do the small thing that keeps stories like this alive. Hit like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might need to hear it today. Because the truth only stays buried when we let it. And none of us should have to face the dark alone. Thank you for staying until the end. I'll see you in the next one.